Welcome to Mo's World, the baseball podcast. We're excited to bring you our latest episode. Your feedback is important to us, so please feel free to share your comments. If you enjoy the podcast, spread the word to your friends. In our 18th episode of Season 2, we're going to ask you if you've ever heard the term playing to the card. What do you think? Expectations. That's pretty much the definition of today's podcast. The term playing to the card refers to the ability to look at a player's baseball card as a way to expect his final results. It's that type of player that has earned the distinction because of his consistency, his production, and his longevity. So let's take a look into some of these players of today. From 2015 to 2025, a decade of excellence is what we have seen from the players on our list. Some are moving out of their prime years. Playing to the card may not be the type anymore. Some continue to put up the stats. Let's see who's on this list. All right, so this is the players of the past 10 years, and our criteria had to be based on something, right? How do I create a list of 10 players that we can say, honestly, they're playing to their card? One year after another, you can expect consistent results, and they're always around their cards. Well, on the bottom of the list, we've got Manny Machado, who made his debut in 2012 at age 19. Manny's played 1,781 games already and has a career WAR of 59.4. Now, do you think he's still productive? Yeah, he damn well is. Now, if he's playing to his card, that means that we can expect an average of around 273, scoring 85 runs. He's good for about 30 homers, 98 RBIs, and he's consistent. He'll play about 150 games. And Manny is on the bottom of our list as an OPS plus of 127. Once again now, OPS plus is based on the league average player of 100. So if you have 100, you're considered an average ball player. And Manny is on our list of the top 10 players of the past 10 years with an OPS plus of 127. So, who's next? I tell you what, I know that it's tough to read stats and not make you get incredibly bored, but they are intriguing to look at these stats. Jose Ramirez, he made his debut at age 20 as well. And that's one thing that is pretty common on this list. Young debuts. And like I said, we only counted the past 10 years. Even if he made his debut in 2013, we took the past 10 years and put his card together. And his card is a current card as well, because we also checked it, and basically some players on this list have already had their careers defined, and some players are relatively new. I'm going to read off all the names first, and then we'll go back and dive into their stats a little bit more. So Manny Machado, with a career not a career, but the past 10 years, OPS plus of 127. Jose Ramirez, with an OPS plus of 134. Jose Altuve, with an OPS plus of 139. Mookie Betts, he has an OPS plus of 142. Bryce Harper, OPS plus of 144. Freddie Freeman, OPS plus of 146. Shohei Ohtani, an OPS plus of 159. Juan Soto, OPS plus of 160. Mike Trout, OPS plus of 161. And the leader on our players of the past 10 years is Aaron Judge with an OPS plus of 180. Now, all these players have had varying degrees of dominance. Freddie Freeman has played 2,069 games, and he leads in that list. And he made his debut in 2010. But what's his card like? What can we expect from a Freddie Freeman this year? How about 307 with about 112 runs scored, 35 doubles, couple triples, with 28 home runs, 99 RBIs. He's going to play in about 156 games. That's the consistency of a Freddie Freeman card. So that's his card right now. Pretty damn impressive. So he is still producing. For instance, we talked about it, can't avoid it, the Mike Trout card. What's the Mike Trout card if he is second on the list at OPS plus of 161? Well, I think we could expect about a 276 average, maybe about 39 runs scored, 12 doubles, couple triples, 18 home runs, and 40 RBIs. Now, if you're saying, holy shit, that doesn't sound like much to me, it's because he's only playing in 64 friggin' games. We're not expecting Mike Trout on his current card to play 64 games. So we'll have to see. At the end of the year, come back to this. We'll make a notation that this is what was predicted on Mike Trout's card. Now, Aaron Judge, we'll just jump right up to the top on why he's debuting in 2016. So he debuted at age 24, and he's the oldest one on this list as far as making his major league debut. He's played 1,039 games, which is one of the lowest amounts as well. He has a career WAR of 56.3. Now, we can expect Aaron Judge to put a 291 average together with about 100 runs scored, 24 doubles, a minimum of 45 homers, and 101 RBIs, and about 134 games played. That's the card of Aaron Judge. So, how does that compare to other players? Like I said, looking at a Mookie Betts, you say, well, Mookie Betts should be higher on this list. And don't forget, Mookie made his debut at age 21 as well, and he was back in 2014. Mookie's played about 1,426 games. He can be depended on for about a 285 average, 109 runs scored, about 35 doubles, a few triples, 28 home runs, and 80 RBIs. And hopefully he plays about 136 games. This is what we're talking about, saying playing to your card. These players have had a consistent results. You know, everybody has up and down years, but you put the averages together, and these are the leader of the past 10 years. They're the leaders of their team. They're the leaders in consistency, production, and dominance. And it shows. You know, it really does. Expectations. That's really what we're talking about, what to expect from these players. And looking back at these stats, the top players in the past decade, it's really interesting what players did not make the top 10. Trey Turner was on and then he was off. Just goes to show how hard it is to be that leader. I wish you had the ability to just look over the stats I'm looking at to see how close some of these players match up surprisingly. It really is quite interesting as far as how they match. And you wouldn't really think that. Like Francisco Lindor comparing to Aaron Judge. So it's like, well, he's the leader of the list, and Francisco Lindor was all the way at the bottom. How can they match up? Don't forget now, this is for 10 years, right? So Francisco Lindor has a 400 games advantage over Aaron Judge. But Aaron Judge, not surprisingly, leads in all the power numbers. Home runs, batting average, on-base percentage, slugging, OPS plus. But Francisco Lindor shows his longevity and his consistency because he has 6,000 plate appearances to 4,000 for Aaron Judge. Makes a big difference, And another interesting one, Jose Ramirez, who has a 51.6 WAR to 46.5 for Shohei Ohtani. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that this is saying he's better than Shohei Ohtani. Don't forget, Shohei Ohtani only has 3,800 plate appearances. He's only played 906 games. And Jose Ramirez has played 500 more games. So comparing these players in the past 10 years, it goes to show that Jose Ramirez is automatic, because he's putting up stats very similar to what Shohei Ohtani has done in the past 5 years. Batting average, 283 for Shohei Ohtani to 280 for Jose Ramirez. Even on base percentage, 373 for Shohei Ohtani to 355. It's very interesting how some of these players do match up. But quite honestly, the ones that surprised me the most with how close everything was Freddie Freeman matching up with Bryce Harper. Now, Freeman has a 50.7 WAR for the 10 years, and Bryce Harper is at 42.2. The amount of games is very similar, about 100 difference. Bryce Harper is about 1,300 games, Freddie Freeman 1,400 games. Freddie Freeman leads in RBIs. Bryce Harper leads in home runs. Stolen bases. I can see and remember Bryce Harper, stealing a few bags every once in a while. He has 116. But Freddie Freeman with 88, I don't remember him stealing as much as that stat is showing me. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Batting average. Freddie definitely has the lead on that with a 308 10-year batting average against 283 for Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper leads in on-base percentage 398 to Freddie Freeman's 397. Now, slugging, you think, these players probably slug pretty similar. Well, how about 535 for Freddie Freeman and 534 for Bryce Harper? Now, if you like to talk OPS, well, Bryce Harper leads with a 932 OPS. Oh, wait. Freddie Freeman has 932 as well. They're tied. 10 years of playing and production, and they're tied. You look at the OPS plus, Freddie Freeman is leading 149 OPS plus to 148 for Bryce Harper. Amazing. I never knew that these two compared so well. They both have 6 All-Star selections. Freddie Freeman leads in the big category of 2 championships. Bryce Harper has 2 MVPs, to 1 for Freddie Freeman. Silver Slugger Awards, 4 for Bryce Harper, 3 for Freddie Freeman. Now, these are accolades of a decade of excellence. That's a big difference. And what we're talking about is saying, playing to your card. These 2 guys play to their card, and they're still playing well. You know, that's the amazing thing. So, how long does it take a player to establish himself? You know, that's a good question. And the answer is not written in stone. I think we've established on the podcast here, we're feeling 4 years. 4 years is either the player takes the next step to become an elite player, or he doesn't. So there are many new and exciting players in Major League Baseball right now. The list we talked about of the past decade of stars is always evolving. So let's take a look at maybe what our next collection of stars can be for the decade to come. Now, this list of players, they're not there yet. They're too inconsistent and still growing as players to define the expectations of just playing to the card. Let's see who may be the next decade of players that we can expect to string consistent years of production. Okay, now I did not make this list with any order. Corbin Carroll, Gunnar Henderson, Pete Crow Armstrong, Ellie De La Cruz, Riley Green, Bobby Witt Jr., Jackson Chourio, Julio Rodriguez, Jackson Merrill. Now, that's the list of today's and tomorrow's stars. Now, these players, they range from everywhere from Jackson Chourio, who made his debut last year at age 20. He's only played 196 games played so far. And how does that compare to someone like Bobby Witt Jr., who made his debut at age 22 in 2022? But Bobby's played up 519 games already, and he has a career WAR of 17.3, which is one of the leaders in that category. It's interesting, the career leaders in WAR right now are the players who kind of came in and they were thrown into the fire. Gunnar Henderson, he's played 383 games, and he has a career WAR of 17.2. As opposed to how it compares with Ellie De La Cruz, who debuted in 2023. He's only played 308 games, and he is very inconsistent. All these players have had either a great debut or a good follow-up or a disappointing year, like Julio Rodriguez probably struggles with this the most. He's played 477 games, the second most on this list of tomorrow's stars. But he's one of the most inconsistent. But it's a nice list of future stars. There, like I said, there's no particular order of this list. Some players like Jackson Merrill, he has a lot of expectations after making a big impact in his debut just last year at age 21. Others like Corbin Carroll and Gunnar Henderson are just struggling with, consistent results. I do believe that the average of 4 years for a player to hit his stride as a star, if he's meant for that, and we'll see. We'll have to see, how that goes. Do you remember that? What's a potential Hall of Fame career? We talked on that in one of our previous podcasts, but the feeling is that the first 4 years the player Well, he's showing he's somebody special. He's someone to watch. You know, there's not many times that a player comes into the league like an Albert Pujols and is hitting 30 home runs with 100 RBIs and hitting 300. That, you know, he was a freak with that. Years 5 through 12, the player is leading his peers in category and is a dynamic player. Years 13 through 17, the player is not quite as dominant. He's showing signs of slowing down, but he's still dangerous. That is an average Hall of Famer. And we discussed that in Season 1, episode 22 in the Hall of Fame / Pete Rose podcast. Now, you know, I know it's just tough to rattle off stats. It's not the best platform, you know, but this is what makes baseball baseball. Whether you are comparing decades or single seasons, we all have our opinions on the players that truly make us want to watch them play. As I've said numerous times during this podcast, the talent in Major League Baseball currently is evolving from some of the past stars that are winding down on their careers, but also seeing the new stars that are so exciting. You just love them both. Looking at our leaders of the decade, I really can't believe that Bryce Harper, Manny Machado, and Jose Altuve, for example, are approaching their declining years. Jeez. Well, that kind of wraps up our podcast. Thank you for joining us for our 18th episode of Season 2 of Mo's World, the Baseball Podcast. Our regular schedule for new episodes is every Friday, with each episode lasting approximately 20 minutes. We appreciate your support and encourage you to share the podcast with your friends. Our next one will be released on Friday, May 30th. We look forward to seeing you then. In the meantime, ask yourself, whose world is it? It's Mo's World.